and welcome to this edition of EMS Now Up Close. I'm Eric Miskell with EMS Now, and it's my pleasure today to speak once again with Sebastian Schaal, founder and managing director at Luminovo. Sebastian, thanks for taking time to speak with us again today.
Yeah, very excited to be back on the show.
Good. Hey, listen, I wanted to ask you about your new customer portal. Newish, as you said before, right? But I think it'll be news for most people because you've developed kind of is it a new way or an alternative way to kind of to collaborate between EMS and their customers? Explain how this works, please, what it is.
Yeah, no, 100%. So I think when we started working with EMS companies, we first looked at their internal processes and how we can streamline their internal quoting workflows, mostly move people from, Excel sheets and a lot of manual work to something more digital and streamlined. But as you know, when you receive a bill of material from a customer and you try to kind of clean it up, there are only so far you can go with smart algorithms, but there's a lot of times it's just going to require you to go back to the original person who designed it and have these back and forth questions. And I think that's like a reality for most companies, digital or not digital. And we saw more and more of these prototyping shops coming up that kind of front load kind of some of this design, this kind of cleaning up work to the designer. But we saw also very big EMS companies that have like very normal series production have a similar like need, but more of a not just checkout experience need, but more of a, hey, how can I create a collaborative workspace with me and my customer that maybe starts in the RFQ phase, but then maybe also continues. And that's where we basically went in and said, we from day one looked at our internal interface and designed it very easy and intuitive to use. So people that see it for the first time don't need a big training, but they can just get into it and use it. So this allowed us to basically have an alternative view on the same data that can be shared directly with the customer. And that's in a sense what our customer portal really is all about, that you can, as a customer, be invited or automatically sign up with your favorite EMS. They can have an own workspace, which is white labeled with their own logo on the top left and their own URL. They can go in, they can log in, and then they see only their projects that they have already been working with that particular EMS. They can then go ahead, create their own, like a new project, upload the bill of material, the same kind of cleaning algorithms will work there, show you the digital twin, and directly highlight some issues on the part level, so supply chain level, where you can then directly start resolving those issues. And if you are an EMS, you can kind of decide of how far you want your customer to go with this. They can just upload the first BOM and then hit request quote anyway, or you can basically nudge them to solve most of those issues they can by themselves, and then just hit request for quote. And they will, of course, not see prices, how you manage your manufacturing, your calculation. They will just see that shared digital twin. And then once you basically hit the manual quote button, or you actually have something like an auto quote function, they can go as far as like an online checkout. But this allows you to really be closer to the customer, closer maybe to the actual engineer, and resolve those issues a lot more seamlessly.
Interesting. So now it sounds like some of this is synchronous and some of it might be asynchronous in how they work together. Is that true? Or
yeah, so the digital twin creation is really synchronous. So once the customer creates a new request, then it basically shows as a status request in draft, and then it directly pops up in the respective contact person's Luminovo internal workspace. So then they see it. The customer, of course, has only their own project, and you as an internal user, you have customer name, project name. So you see if multiple customers are at the same time pushing in new projects, you see all of them appear in the in draft section. And then, once then they can work on it. You have a comment feature, like so you can then comment with your internal workspace, and the internal user has different views. They can use internal comments, so they talk to other people inside, and public comments that are then shared with the actual engineer that's working on. Okay. That's kind of all synchronous, but then the if you basically say, I hit a request, and then you don't have an auto quote function as an EMS because you say, I don't want to be in an instant pricing game. I want to do my normal proper manual work. Then you can follow the steps internally, and the OEM will just see basically request in progress. And once you hear you're done, you create a PDF document or an online quote, and you hit submit. It comes back, and then they get a notification, and then they say, "Hey, here is your offer." That is then the basically asynchronous communication style.
Okay, that's interesting. So is this now going to be? Is this a new feature that's part of the service, or is this a new service within the?
It's basically a new module. So we try to always have our software suite kind of very modular, that we can meet you where you're at, depending on what you do. Do you manufacture in-house? Or are you just sourcing? I mean, as an EMS, of course, you do manufacture. And do you basically want to offer such a service or not? So it's really just a bolt-on experience. So everyone who's using at least our core modules can just add this customer portal on top. And if you basically just have the core module, you can use this as a digital data entry and then this collaboration space. But you would anyway then get the costed bill of material and download it. And then you would do your kind of calculations like you've always done it as an Excel sheet or your ERP. And then you can just export the PDF and then upload it again. So the customer has a log and a change log and sees that PDF. But if you use our full suite, where you go from all the way to creating the actual calculation and the maybe PDF quotation document in our software, then you can also, basically don't leave the software at all. Or you can, as I mentioned before, even do an auto pricing. So if you say for specific volumes, maybe below 100, I will allow an auto pricing function, and then they could even get a digital offer directly, being as close as you can be to kind of these online prototyping shops, where you as an EMS can then really decide, how do you want to play this game? Is this just a collaborative space, or do I want to go full web shop for some of the lower volume order sizes?
Interesting. Excuse me. So I'm assuming that it just replaces all the emails that were done before, right? I mean, the communications before probably was, or was there something in the tool already that allowed for a degree of notes and communication?
Yeah, so internal notes were possible, but exactly as you said, right? Before, it's in a sense that you had to then, you have a clean bill of material, that's great. From the customer bill of material to a clean version, you have comments, but then you would have to download it with like errors and then send it back to the customer. And now this is shared, this is contextual. The customer sees the health dashboard like you would see it internally. So they directly see like obsolete parts, like non-availabilities, compliance issues. So that we have like a database here, it's enriched by many different data sources. So that's like an extra service that you as an EMS directly nudge the customer to use the portal, because they get an extra service as well. And now, as you said, there's still, of course, email with, you have a notification in the app, and then you can basically get pulled in. But the collaboration can now work on an item level, right? You don't have to highlight this bomb line, comment here, comment back, but you have comments here, you have a change log. You can then decide to set a new part, use our alternative part feature, add a new alternative, propose it, they review it. You have a complete audit trail. So this whole conversation is then also saved and stored, which is another very important part, because we had some EMS where the alternative was chosen in an email chain, and then at some point a problem was with exactly this alternative in the past, and then they had to find out who approved this and how. It was a huge mess, and this audit trail also helps to create, this proof and the resilience that, if something goes wrong, we know exactly who approved it and why.
Okay. So is it the EMS who's going to control who's invited in? So it will be the EMS who would invite in their OEM customers, whoever that may be, and possibly the designers as well?
Yeah, so they can, again, decide how they want to play this game. So we have some customers that have invite only. So they would invite them, then they would get an invitation email, and then they can sign up. Or you can unlock a self-sign up. So then you basically have a page that is then with your domain /sign up, and then people can self-register. And in that flow, you could again then say, if they self-register, do you need to approve them before, or can they directly start? And I think that really gives you all the flexibility, because it's not on us to decide how you want to run your digital strategy. We're just here as a provider to help you put that into action. Yeah.
Now, I know in the past, I've always seen on EMS sites kind of a customer portal login. So something like this has existed, obviously, in the past. How is this replacing what may have been there in these companies before? How is this different?
Yeah, no, I think you're right. It's there. Some customers had like portals for some of different services. I think some, as I said, had these online web shops already. Some had something like part libraries you could download. So they were often very like fragmented and like only single purpose, and often more kind of read-only motions. And I think that's this whole idea of true collaboration on something where you can upload, you can create, and it's directly integrated into the internal quoting workflow and then kind of the ordering workflow. I think that is, for this RFQ part, something completely new. And you're right, we see like EMS that have already some form of portal services, like migrate this over, because maintaining this is often on top of an ERP, custom built by some external provider, costs a lot of money. It's not purpose built for electronics. So you will always have to customize here and there, and then it still kind of breaks at some point. And I think that's the big edge here. This is a vertical software. It's purpose built for electronics. So we can handle that domain, and we can allow you to go beyond just like an RFQ portal experience. But as you mentioned a little bit in what you said, the other services are, right? Can you have the customer join you earlier in that customer journey? Would you want support them maybe in the engineering phase, or later when you've already moved to an order, you want to see where's my order, what's my inventory, and so on. So there are a lot of kind of questions that are currently asked that can be like presented and answered digitally, but also under the hood, there are a lot of digital business models that are basically sleeping there, that EMS could also jump on and basically diversify their service offering in the digital age.
Okay, interesting. Now talk about the security aspect of this too, because obviously we're putting a lot of critical information out there. Speak to that and how that's kind of safeguarded.
Yeah, no, it's a very good point. So we are basically currently, our main cluster with Microsoft Azure in Frankfurt. We are potentially spinning up a second cluster for the States when it comes to like the whole ETAR conversation. We just had the ISO 27001 audit, basically certifying all our like data security efforts, which is was a nighting event for us. And yeah, I think that's what we really try to put is this really security at first, like have multi-factor authentication, encryption at transit and at rest, the whole GDPR compliance, where Europe is anyway a little bit of a pioneer. So really think about all the security aspects from all sides, who has access, who when, what's the backup logic, to really make sure that this is like the storing and access right is secure, but also, the uploading is secure. And I think that's where I think many people fall into a fallacy, because people send their files around in unencrypted emails everywhere, right? And that is, in my mind, the true security issue that you have. Whereas when you are in a basically encrypted environment where you upload something behind a login, this is where really you can secure data integrity and security. So I think that's really where people sometimes fall in this fallacy. Same with this whole internal on-premise versus cloud, where we literally had already 2 customers that were hacked with the internal servers, and everything was down. The only system that kept running was our system in the cloud, because we can sit on the shoulders of giants and bet on the experts. I think that's our premise here, that we say we can build on the security that something like a big company like Microsoft provides, add additional processes and rights restrictions on top to really bring our customer, I think, the best security experience they can have.
Okay. Now you mentioned that this at the beginning, isn't a brand new thing. You've obviously been testing it and using it with some customers. So what kind of feedback are you getting from customers on this?
Yeah, so it's interestingly for the first customers, it was really like a very strategic decision, right? To say, hey, are we going to venture into the space? How will our customers react to it? And we were more in a like little bit hesitant testing phase. But I think they were like extremely excited that, one that I think if you're a procurement person and you were like trying to upload a BOM or like send this to your EMS, you got feedback, and you got feedback, you had to directly feed it back to the engineer because you had no idea about what this feedback really means. I think that was the procurement persona really for the first time felt empowered to kind of clean a BOM themselves because there was so much contextual feedback that they can really make an informed decision and upload this for the first time. So there was a huge delight, even though you feel that they do more, but it's the more they do is a lot less than the whole email ping pong they do. So they're actually a lot faster at getting results and felt extremely empowered. And on the designers or engineers were extremely delighted as well because there were a lot less feedback loops. There were sometimes even was then officially approved that they can do this job themselves because it's clear, it's safeguarded with this EMS. The conditions are clear, so the engineers could directly go to the portal. And could get extremely fast prototypes, for example, where other prototyping shops were maybe not allowed from procurement. And I think that's really the big benefit here, jumping through less internal loops and hoops, streamlining faster processes, and empowering more people with data to make informed decisions.
Okay.
And that's really the main part that the engineers, there was little engineers that said, I'm not going to do this extra work. That was the main fear of some of the EMS, but they got so much positive feedback that this is now going from prototype to, hey, how can we do this for the whole series? How can we expand more value to our customers on that front?
Yeah. And that was going to be what my question is. This is a good start, but it sounds like you've created a portal and environment that can transcend the kind of the life cycle, the whole piece. Do you see that in the future, or how do you see this?
Yeah, no, that you're nailing the point here. I think currently the technology is fairly broadly usable, and we're really just using it for this kind of quoting experience, which is, as you said, a very small part of the whole customer journey or the OEM EMS collaboration journey. And I think for us, it's going to be how can we move more into something like a full customer lifecycle management, if the term would exist, to really guide them on the whole way, ease most of the processes, and maybe offer additional services. And I think everything that centers around, part and assembly information allows for a digital service, right? From the very early days where upload your design and we give you a kind of DFA, design for assembly check on our machines, to like upload something and you get this risk analysis, right, that we already have, which you can potentially sell as like a service. Some customers are already starting to do that in the very early phase, or additional NPI support that is digitally supported, to then going further in, okay, you're potentially purchasing parts, you're storing them with us. I want to see the inventory I have. I want to maybe store them longer term. How, like, can I see that? What is additional testing that needs to be done on that front? So, this whole inventory management, like consignment, in a consignment style, maybe having an opportunity to pull this even back into my own ERP to kind of see real time what's going on in different inventories or storages I have. To the way that, if you're ordering, you have ordered it, then there's different yearly volumes, the production runs that you have. Also something that's in the ERP, right? So we're not replacing like the ERP there, but this like syncing it to a digital platform where you can have a conversation and then maybe simulate different scenarios. And that's, I think, the big strength that our tool has. I think the ERP is a great, this is what it is tool, and this is what we execute tool, but the what if analysis simulation is something the ERP can't do well.
Right.
And if you think about a serious production, it's also these ugly discussions about like, oh, our prices have changed, like costs have changed, like seeing the diff, having this conversation in a digital form. So that's like an additional end form where you see a lot of value being able to having this in a simulated environment. So really spanning from first component you place to maybe ramp down after sales, like recycling plans. So I think everything that's centered around this data model could be part of this platform.
Yeah, I mean, they always talk about that, right? The desire for that glass pipeline to be able to see all of this through. And it seems like that's kind of the vision that you have for this.
Yeah, and for me, it's always important that, both sides can kind of decide what they want to share and how. And I think that's the most important piece. Yeah. That you can decide, do you want to have a self sign up for this, or do you want to invite your customers? The customer kind of can decide, do they want to upload it? And then maybe you as an EMS can even say, hey, this is an auto pricing function. I want to expose directly to the ERP system of my customer, or I don't. So having this double opt-in from both sides, allowing everyone to kind of, the connection is there and it's just a click away. So it's not like in the old EDI days, where every connection costs you like a couple of $1,000s.
Yeah.
But like making this easy, but giving you full control. And I think that's which part of the pipeline you really want to make a glass pipeline and which you want to basically hide in the shadows. Yeah.
No, and that's good, right? Because there are always going to be those elements that people don't want to have exposed, and they, for good reasons, obviously. Yeah. So Tommy, this is fascinating. I love to see these developments. I think you guys are doing some great work here. What didn't I ask you that I should ask you about this tool?
I mean, I think the main question is like how you can get started and how you can basically integrate this all. And I think for us, as you said, you can start in a very simple fashion with us. You can use maybe also if you have existing tools that are covering sub parts of the quoting process, that's fine. We have an open API, so we can also bolt on to other different services. And I think the other big question is where could you see this potentially in action first? And I think it's worth sharing that we're going to be at PCB West in Santa Clara in September, and for the first time on a on-site conference in the States. Very excited about this. And if you're around, we'll be at the show. You can reach out to us, and then very excited to show you that in person. But of course, otherwise, we're a web-based solution. It's only a demo away, and we can also offer free trials for this. And that's, I think, also a big plus if you are a cloud-based SaaS solution. So if you're interested, you can just reach out, and then we're gonna see if that fits into your digital strategy.
Perfect. That was excellent. Sebastian, this is good stuff. I look forward to getting some updates from you later in the year. I wish you well out in Santa Clara, your old stomping grounds too. You get to go back to the Bay Area for a while, huh?
Yeah, it's actually been a while. Yeah, my Stanford graduation is 2017. So it's already quite some years ago, but looking forward to it.
I'll tell you, the traffic has not gotten better in the Bay Area.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
Very good. Sebastian, I appreciate this very much. Always love the updates. Congratulations on this, and good luck out in Santa Clara.
Thank you so much. Looking forward to speaking soon. Bye.
Thank you.